Hi everybody, welcome to Great Books, Big Ideas. My name's Jim. Thanks for joining me. I thought it'd be a good day for a reading update. Typically I do these on Friday under the Friday Reads type of tag, but I can't always do them on Friday, so I'm going to just call them reading updates or reading logs from now on. And these are just brief videos about what I've finished lately, what I'm currently reading, what I will be reading, the TBRs, and any new acquisitions that I've gotten. Also, I could talk about unhauls, stuff I've been giving away. So in any case, I have a couple books I finished this week. The first was Aristotle for Everybody by Mortimer J. Adler. This was a mass market paperback that I found in a little free library. And upon completing it, I have since given it back to a little free library, so it's gone. This was a book that's basically kind of a little bit like an Aristotle for Dummies type of paradigm, but it's meant to just be like an introduction to Aristotle's way of thinking and some of his main ideas. And I guess the book accomplishes that mission, although Adler's style, as I've said before, is dry. It's a bit pedantic and plodding. It was not really a very enjoyable read. Some of his examples are practical, and he does get across some of the basic concepts. You know, you're learning about things like material cause and efficient cause and formal cause and final cause, and you know, the prime mover, and you know, all this sort of basic kind of orientation points that you need to grasp what Aristotle is up to. But it doesn't make Aristotle very interesting. So I think it's unfortunate in that respect. For an introductory book, I would like for the, let's say an introductory book about any philosopher, Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, you want to introduce the reader to the main concepts and give them sort of the gist of what that philosopher's thought was all about. But you also, I think, want to generate interest, and you want to lead the reader to want to read more of that philosopher. And sometimes the best way to go about that is to quote the philosopher and explicate passages and things. Adler doesn't really do much of that at all. It's all summary. It's all kind of his take on here's, you know, what Aristotle is all about. And I don't question Adler's analysis. He was a great analytical mind, a great categorizer, but it doesn't make for very interesting reading. So I wouldn't recommend it. Like maybe some of you who are intent on studying Aristotle and you want some kind of an introduction. It's not a very long book, but it can serve its purpose that way. But I think that there's probably better introductions to Aristotle. It wouldn't be the only introduction to Aristotle book I would read, because if you read just this one, you're probably going to lose interest. And actually, Aristotle, as hard as he is, as difficult as he is to read, I think the process of reading him in translation, obviously, is worth the effort in many cases. So, for example, on my currently reading list, I'm reading the Metaphysics, and I've read a couple more chapters or books in that book, Metaphysics. Incredibly high degree of difficulty with that, you know, like it's hard to follow a lot of it. But when you're going through those chapters and you're really digging in and trying to follow it, you're exercising your mind. It's what my 10th grade math teacher called mental gymnastics, right? You're performing these mental exercises. You're sort of flexing those muscles. And it's like good for you, you know, you learn it. So to just get it, you know, at this kind of high level summary level, I feel like doesn't quite do justice to what Aristotle's all about. Like it's about the process of knowing. It's about trying to figure these things out based on observation, experience, theorizing, and so forth. So Yeah, a little bit disappointed in the Mortimer J. Adler book, but it's not the first time I've been disappointed at a book by him. Um, Probably the best book of his that I've read is just the one that's called How to Read a Book, which I think he wrote with someone else. I can't remember. Was it Charles Van Doren? I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But it's kind of an Adler book, and it was a bestseller. I think it was written in the 40s, and it's very practical. It's just a great guide to reading. Like Adler, I think, is more of an educator than a philosopher. He's, you know, he's good at sort of scripting out like a course of learning and so forth. And How to Read a Book gives you like just really strong practical guidance for how to approach difficult text. Many of you probably have read it. It's quite popular and remains in print to this day. Okay, that's enough of Mortimer J. Adler. He's gone. We've exiled him to a little free library near my house, and I hope someone found him and is reading him. The other book I completed was Bag of Bones by Stephen King. This was I think it was published in the late 1990s. And this book was a mass market paperback that I found also in a little free library. And since completing it, I have returned it to the little free library. This is a book that for me began kind of slow. The pace in the first 120, 150 pages was, it's not that it's poorly written. Like Stephen King's a good writer, a good stylist. He can write a sentence. The voice was very strong, first-person narrator, narrated by a writer, a novelist. And it's about him grieving the sudden death of his wife. And so that's all very well rendered in that first 100 to 150 pages, setting the scene and so forth. But what makes it slow, or what made it slow for me, was just a little bit too much excessive description. Like once you establish like where the character is at, let's move it along. Let's get to our first major plot point. So it took a little too long for me to kind of get to where the book's plot started moving forward. And it's about this writer who's lost his wife, and he has writer's block. So for like 4 years he can't write. So then he goes to their lake house, which he's been avoiding. He's been starting to have nightmares and things, and now he's kind of going to confront some of that by going to this lake house in western Maine. And the plot really gets going when he sort of rescues a young girl who's wandered away from her house trailer, and he finds her in the middle of the road, and in a sense rescues her, returns her to her young mother, who's a widow. And then that sparks some interest between those two characters. She's much younger than he is. He's in his 40s, she's in her 20s. And then like it leads to this subplot about a custody battle. So the mother's her husband, who's passed away, like his grandfather or father, wants to get custody of the child, the daughter, and because she's kind of thought of as being like white trash, and he's this rich computer business magnate. He's kind of drawn in very cartoonish tones, like I kept thinking of Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. He's sort of like the antagonist, the evil force that's kind of trying to ruin people's lives, and very selfish and manipulative. And he seems to have the whole town, this lakeside town, like wrapped around his finger and so forth. So it's, and then the writer, Mike Noonan, he kind of gets wrapped up in all this. And in the meantime, this might be spoiling a little bit, so I'll just warn folks, if you want to read Bag of Bones, you might want to skip ahead. But, the house he lives in is haunted by several ghosts, actually. And so the plot starts to kind of kick into gear, and I found myself reading it, more frequently and making better progress. And then I got to some other major plot points. Some of them are very improbable, where, they feel a little contrived. But I kept getting more and more interested in the book because even though there were some contrivances, I was very entertained about the way King is like doling out these clues and details, and each chapter kind of ends with either a cliffhanger or another clue. The ghosts start, writing things in refrigerator magnet letters, and these little clues that have to be deciphered. He finds out that his wife was doing some research for some kind of a writing project about the history of the town, and the town is really harboring a very dark secret that's basically the beginning of all this haunting. And there's some interesting set pieces in the book, like some very well done ones, like that were entertaining to read and kind of horrifying and graphic. And I liked all those sections of the book. And then, more bad stuff happens and the hauntings increase, and the book sort of touches on themes of racism, racial violence, sexual violence, revenge. The ghosts want to get their revenge. And the town is sort of cursed and haunted and wants to cover up some of these dark secrets. And it gets kind of ominous. So I started to get a feel for like that sort of small town conformist society where everyone knows everyone's business, and they don't like this guy Mike Noonan intruding on their peace and harmony, and so they have it in for him, and people turn on him, and all kinds of bad stuff. And then some really sad things happen in the book, which I won't give away, but ultimately it does resolve, and there's a somewhat happy ending to it after a lot of not happy stuff happens. I'm trying not to give too much away. I'm late to the party with Bag of Bones. I mean, this apparently was made into a film or a TV series, and which I haven't watched. But it was a popular Stephen King novel. I remember at the time, like the way it was being pitched or hyped in the press was like, oh, this is Stephen King now being more literary. He's trying to get some like literary cred instead of being just known as a genre writer. And there were definitely aspects of the book where like I did feel like the book was character driven. I got a really good sense of place from it. And there were many very well written passages, and he can do the horror thing and the ghost story thing like super well. As I said before, he can really like kind of stitch together the plot and kind of make things like reveal at the right time for maximum effect. So what happened to me was it became a page turner for me, right? So I think by the last day of reading it that one morning, it was a few days ago, I think I read the last 200 pages in one morning, because I was like, I got to find out how it ends. Like, how does it turn out, So that's what he's good at. But there was also some literary quality to it. But I mean, I know Stephen King isn't for everybody, but a lot of people love him. Like, this is only maybe the second King novel I've read. I've read Carrie, which I liked a lot, and Bag of Bones. I think Carrie's the better book than Bag of Bones. I do have my criticisms of it. It's the contrivances of the plot. I tend to not really enjoy books about writers, although I thought he did convey writer's block really well. And this was a well-drawn writer character. It's just not always to my taste to have books about that. It seems a little too, self-reflexive or something, whatever. But yeah, and some things were kind of hokey, and there were a couple plot holes, and I just didn't always totally buy like how this writer got embroiled in this custody battle that didn't really have anything to do with him, but he became the champion of the young widow, and then there was a love interest there too, and it was okay. It was okay book, but probably not his best book. But if you've read Bag of Bones, let me know what you think of it in the comments. So anyway, I was glad to finish it, and I sort of blasted through the last couple hundred pages, and it was a satisfying read. But it's a little bit like eating junk food too. Like it fills you up, but then like how nutritive is it? And I'm not so sure. But to the extent that he touched on some of these like deeper, darker themes, which are there in the book. That I thought like there was a stickiness factor there, like there was something there that you could hold on to. I wish there was a little more of that, to be honest, but basically it was sort of a potboiler thriller ghost story type thing, and that's what he's good at. All right. So that's that. So now I'm currently reading Jorge Luis Borges' collected fictions, and I'm almost through the first collection, which is called A Universal History of Iniquity. This was his first fiction collection, published in 1935. A lot of these are based on real people, maybe all of them. So they're kind of like rogues and renegades and criminals and so forth. So you've got like pieces on the cruel redeemer Lazarus Morel, the improbable impostor Tom Castro, the widow Ching, pirate, Monk Eastman, purveyor of iniquities, the disinterested killer Bill Harrigan, better known as Billy the Kid, the uncivil teacher of court etiquette, Kotsuke no Suke, Hakim, the masked dyer of Merv, which is the last one I read, and then two more, Man on Pink Corner and etc. So this was published in 1935 originally, and you can already see some of the major themes in Borges' work coming out here, and I like his style. Very entertaining short pieces. I turned to this because I wanted to read some shorter stuff, just to kind of, get some satisfaction that way, and it's delivering on that. So I'm looking forward to making more progress on that. I told you about the Aristotle Metaphysics. I'm also currently reading that. I think I'm also going to turn to the John Jakes historical novel, The Rebels. I want to maybe move that to the front burner and try to get through that so that I can give it back. That's like a American Revolutionary War story. So let's get on to new acquisitions. I want to share with you some stuff that I've actually purchased. This was an eBay purchase. And we'll start with Lawrence Durrell, double-decker, The Revolt of Aphrodite. And this is published by Faber. And he published these two novels in the 1960s. And the first one is called Tunk, which I have not read. And the second one is called Nunquam, which I have read. Nunquam. So you're getting two novels for the price of one. He liked to do sets like this. So you have the Alexandria Quartet, The Revolt of Aphrodite, which is a two-novel set, and then the Avignon Quintet, which is 5 novels that he published after this in the 70s and 80s maybe. But anyway, what's this all about? Well, I'll read you the blurb copy. Felix Charlock is a world-famous inventor. His scientific genius draws him into the web of a sinister multinational corporation called Merlin, which recruits him for their own ends. When Felix is married into this wealthy family, the firm sets him an impossible task, demanding that he reinvent his former lover as a living, breathing replica. But creating this perfect robot facsimile heralds a new era of destruction, threatening not only Felix's sanity, but his very existence. Consisting of 2 books, Tunc and its sequel, Nunquam, The Revolt of Aphrodite is Lawrence Durrell's dystopian novel of ideas, rich in mystery and drama with a global sweep and dazzling cast, a portrait of a modern Frankenstein that will revolutionize the way you view technology forever. Yeah. I used to have a mass market paperback of Nunquam, the second. I didn't even realize it was part of a set. And it had a cool cover. I'll show you an image of it here on the video. I read it and I gave it away. I kind of regret giving it away, actually. But I was initially intrigued by it because I don't think of Lawrence Durrell as a sci-fi author, and that's how it was being pitched on the paperback cover. And this is kind of that dystopian science fiction, but you know, it's not hard sci-fi or anything like that. I enjoyed Nunquam. I did feel like I was kind of getting dumped into the middle of a larger story, so it was sort of hard to follow it initially, but I really like this writer. I find him very palatable, and when I realized that there was a first volume, I kept my eye out for it. I did find a used hardcover copy of Tunc without the dust jacket, and I still have that on the shelf. But I thought it would be nice to just get the 2 packaged into one book. And I like these Faber paperback covers. This particular edition was published in 2021 with these cover designs, and they've reissued a lot of his novels in similar format. I'm a little bit picky when it comes to cover art, and some of the Lawrence Durrell book covers don't do much for me at all, but this one's kind of nice. I like it. So I won't get around to reading Tunc, and if I read it, I'll read the whole thing again. I'll also read Nunquam, but I think I want to finish the Alexandria Quartet first. I have one more novel, Clea, to read in that set, and then eventually I'll get to this one. So that was, I got this at a good price. Now, I'll say the best for last here. I got the Penguin Clothbound editions of Proust, Remembrance of Things Past, the C.K. Scott Moncrief translation. I've been looking for these for years, and I finally got them, and it didn't break the bank. I was so thrilled to be able to scrounge these up on eBay. Here they are. These are just really gorgeous to look at. The cover designs are by the woman who does all of these for the Penguin Clothbounds, Coralie Bickford Smith, and she just did an incredible job with the designs of these. There's spine. This is the whole thing. They packed it all into three volumes. And these have been very hard to find. And I know years ago, I noticed them cropping up on eBay. And it seemed like they were mainly being sold in the UK and Europe. And they were quite pricey. Like, I think I forget what the prices were, but they were out of my budget. I was like, and they actually came in a box, like that replicated this design. Mine did not come with the box. I don't know if they still sell the box. But anyway, this was about 8-10 years ago. I had my eye on them and was kind of lusting after these books, but I never pulled the trigger on it. And then very soon afterward, it became apparent that they were out of print because the price of these volumes skyrocketed. Like if you went to eBay and you just, search for Proust, Clothbound, Remembrance of Things Past, Penguin, you'd get a lot of sticker shock. And they're talking like hundreds of dollars. And I was like, oh, I missed my opportunity. Like I could have got them for not as much as that, but I missed the boat on it. And yeah, so one day I was just doing my sort of typical window shopping on eBay, and I started searching for Proust, and every now and then I see what's out there. Well, what I discovered was that these volumes have now been reprinted, finally. And the UK price, here's the barcode, was £22 in UK money. I think the price I got them for, two of the volumes were for I think there was 22, and then one of them was only 17. And I thought, I can't miss this the second time around. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give up this opportunity to get these really nice looking Penguin Clothbounds, because I'm a Proust fanatic, and I'm planning to reread In Search of Lost Time in the new translations, which I've got a whole set of those newer paperback Penguins on the shelf. These are sitting right beside those on the shelf. I'll call it Rue de Marcel Proust on that area of the bookshelves. But I wasn't going to miss the opportunity to grab these. And I'm really glad I did, because they look great in person. I know people talk about these Penguin Clothbounds, how this sort of foil screen printed cover tends to rub off when you use it. I know the risks of that. I've also read that about 2 years ago, Penguin refined their process for doing this. So I've got my fingers crossed that maybe these will hold up better and the shelf wear won't be as bad, and just the handling wear. Because I will read these books. I've read the whole Remembrance of Things Past, this translation, once through. And I'll show you those volumes. Okay, so this is the first pass of reading Proust I read in these volumes. These are Random House hardcovers. You can see how stained they are and old and not exactly musty, but they have pretty strong bindings, and but they're in terms of shelf appeal, there's not a lot going on there for these. But this is what I read of Proust. Now, I feel like this translation, which is the same as these, this is a nice upgrade, isn't it? Just in terms of, shelf appeal. So I am now trying to decide whether I should part ways with these and take these to the little free library and let someone discover them. I'm leaning that way. If you have opinions on that, let me know. I'm not going to do it right away, so you can talk me out of it. But I feel like, with a book like this that's meant so much to me, there is a nostalgia factor. So even if it's maybe not the prettiest volume, you're like, that's the book I read, and I kind of want to keep it. And yet, shelf space is limited. There's only so many, so many spots on the Rue de Marcel Proust on that part of the shelf. Like, so I don't think I'm gonna feature these prominently, but I have to decide what I want to do about this. And if I give them away, I've actually signed these, and I put my name under the original owner. So it's kind of like, okay, she had these before me. Now I have them. Maybe it's someone else's turn, right? But I can't quite decide. So I'm on the fence of what to do with these. But long story short, these were great pickups. And here I want to tell folks, this is the breaking news. I saved the breaking news for last, that these are back in print. So if you're looking for these Proust Clothbounds, they're back in print. I don't know if they're for sale in American bookstores or not, but they're, because the price tag was all UK pricing, right? But if they're being printed in the UK, you can get your hands on them. I got them through one of these like mega, monster sellers on eBay. God knows where they came from, but they seem to me to be in brand new condition. Like these clearly have not been read. Like I was shocked at like what good quality they were, and I was really thrilled. It's the same with this. I got them all from the same seller, brand new basically, and it didn't break the bank by a long shot. So anyway, yeah, that's Proust. Like the Proust mania continues, and there's actually this is like this bibliophile mania here, but there's one more set of these Proust volumes that I would kind of like to get eventually, and some of you may have these. They were boxed in I think they put them in 3 volumes. It was Random House and the Moncrief translation, and they are sort of in a gray silver box with some really cool designs to them, and they were issued both in hardcover and paperback. So if I could find that down the line, maybe not right away, but down the line, find, and I don't think these are like terribly expensive because they're pretty common, but that would be nice to have that box set, right? And then I think I'm done with Proust forever. Like I don't think I'm going to need anything else. 3 or 4 editions of the same book, which is multiple volumes. I think that's enough. Maybe it's a little bit of an overkill, but what can I tell you? It's craziness. It's craziness. But no, this is what we do for the books that we love, right? They mean a lot. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. So just to recap, finished Bag of Bones, finished Aristotle for everybody, currently reading Aristotle's Metaphysics and the Borges collected fictions and the John Jakes novel. I've got some other TBRs that I have to kind of firm up my list, but there's other stuff going on there. And the big news is the Proust volumes, the Durrell, and yeah, I'm a happy reader. So anyway, what have you been reading? Give me some updates. Share your thoughts on these volumes. If you have any updates on these Penguin Clothbounds, I know some people are very critical of them, but boy, do they look nice. They really do look nice. And to me, the bindings look pretty good. They have the sewn-in bookmarks, and like, I'm glad I got them. Like, okay, maybe they're not going to hold up perfectly, but you wait years to get something that you've been looking for. There's some satisfaction when you finally score it big. Anyway, also tell me what I should do with these old guys. Like, I am truly on the fence about that. Should I just put them like in a closet somewhere? I really don't know. So anyway, I've waxed on long enough. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, I hope you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and don't forget to like the video. And we'll see you again soon.